Good morning, good day, good evening. My name is Jonathan Regan, also known as New Questions. I'm going to do a weekend market recap. It's Monday morning here on the Gold Coast in Australia. So if you're in America, I'm coming from the future. I'm 10 hours ahead of UTC time. Although everything I do mention in the next, say, 5-10 minutes is going to be locked into that UTC time. Blockchain education synchronizes to UTC time on all of the calls and the charts. And you can actually see UTC time in the bottom right corner. Right. What has been happening over the weekend, over the last like 5, 6, 7, 14 days, I'm going to show you. I'm actually going to give you a quick look at a summarized version of our call system. We actually have more calls, but these ones are some fancy pants calls. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about all of them. I got to say that the analysts and the algorithms are finding so many opportunities now, and these results are so spectacular as Bitcoin runs sideways around this $8,000 area, that this is just a small selection of the calls that are running through the system. As a member, you get instant access to all of them 24/7. Without further ado, let me just do a quick scroll. You guys can check the timestamps themselves. Calls by the analysts recently, absolutely stunning over the last week and a half. Some of these short-term signals, you can go and check the original timestamp UTC time yourself to make sure we know what we're doing. All of these coming in, excuse me, slightly delayed, because we don't want to give away all of our calls. Obviously, this is a public channel on YouTube, and so there is a delay here between what I'm showing you, and there's also a bit of a delay, maybe 3-hour delay, where it takes me to upload the video and get everything ready and publish it and stuff. So a bit of a delay there. You're looking around about 24 to 48 hours. As you can see, lots of profit. And it just continues to get higher and higher and higher. We're going to talk about some of these calls over the next couple of days. Usually our profit window is around about 3 to 7 days. I'm just going to continue scrolling down here. Like I said, you can put it into slow motion. You can press pause. You can go and verify all these ones yourself. Beautiful MDA, 62%. Talked about that in previous videos. In fact, a lot of the stuff that we talked about in previous videos continued to trend, continued to make massive amounts of money. A lot of the members making money auto trading. Very exciting announcement coming up soon, which is going to enhance the auto trading. And you can see over the last couple of weeks, we've had some huge numbers. This is going to go back, I think, 19 days max. Let's keep it going. 20 days. Okay, 20 days. And these hot signals recently, absolutely explosive, very fast, rapid gains in cryptocurrency prices against Bitcoin. As you can see, hundreds of signals. When I say that we produce hundreds and hundreds of signals every week, I'm not exaggerating like some other signals groups. We actually do. And that's because we've got professional analysts in 5 different time zones. We've got algorithms that are running 24/7. We're pulling down data faster than anybody else. We're analyzing it. We're making opportunity discoveries. We're automatically entering people, making charts, and helping people make money. Whew! Right. Exciting. So that's the calls. And as you can see, been a really nice period for cryptocurrency alternatives to Bitcoin over the last couple of weeks. As I mentioned in the first 3 or 4 videos that I uploaded into this YouTube channel, I expect that while Bitcoin runs sideways, that we're going to see continued gains in other coins. These altcoins are going to try and reassert some of their dominance, and traders will tend to go into them because they're looking, obviously, for opportunity and money. They don't want to lose money, so they're not going to just sit around in Bitcoin and watch it go from $10,000 down to $8,000. That's a 20% loss. Instead, what they're looking for is any number of altcoins that are appreciating, increasing in value against Bitcoin. And that is basically what blockchain education is all about, doing a current discount right now. So make sure you check out the coupon link in the the description below, and you're going to get a great deal. Right. To give you an idea of the type of calls that we've been talking about non-stop, let's start with metal. I talked about metal in one of my videos a couple of videos ago, the Coinergy video. I talked about how it had started a beautiful uptrend, and we can now see that this particular uptrend has been running for approximately 3 days. I'm going to put on some algorithm. You can see the entry price here. The Blitz MA came in, absolutely beautiful entry, and we've since run the better part of 42%. Only a couple of hours ago, that one running to a new higher high, candle close higher high, series of higher lows, as I've mentioned before. Absolutely beautiful transition here into that sort of 4,000 range. We talk about the psychological level. This area here, I think that's 4,000 satoshis. We kind of had a feeling that that's where we were going to go as soon as we broke above 3,000. 3,000 sitting down here at the 200 moving average, another place where if we don't find resistance when we're popping up through it, then it's you know, there's no resistance. You're just going to go higher and higher. ADX, ADI supporting that particular move. You can see I'm going to change this to green to suggest it's all good. So we had our entry, we had our ADX, we had our 200 blitz. I mean, it was just a perfect setup. And at the end of the day, we're looking at, you know, 40% in a couple of days off this candle here. Do I think it's going to continue higher? Yes, I do. So that's my prediction here, metal continuing higher. I would expect that we might get to 4,400, 4,500 before it cools off a bit. Not often that we see a 40% move in a couple of days over a weekend. So MTL metal doing extremely well as predicted by the analysts and the algorithms. In fact, it's been doing well for a period of time now. Okay, enough. Siri likes to mess with me when I talk that fast. You see, that's the problem. Right, let's look at TNT. TNT, another one that we discussed in the prior videos. We can see that this is a sustained uptrend, just as I expected. We had our entry way back here, and I've talked about it multiple times. I also said that we've called it multiple times all the way up. Beautiful retracements back into the 50 and the 200 moving average. This doesn't surprise me at all that we came back and tapped that 200 moving average. That to me is a sign of strong support, although I got to say the trend is now changing. We have gone DI negative, and the downtrend, well, not the downtrend, but the power of the trend is starting to decline now. Tapped off the bottom of the cave. We all know about that as part of our methodology. Slipped below the 50. Has the end of this run begun? I would probably say yes. It's not often that you go 100% in 12 days. The majority of that captured by the algorithms and the calls. Beautiful green trend, 12 days. Is it time for TNT to take a break? I probably suggest it will be, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually our high and that we end up getting sort of a series of lower highs now, and we may even get a lower low down here. It went to nearly 600, just as predicted, which was pretty stunning. 100% move in 2 weeks. TNT, fantastic job. Another one that was mostly discussed by the algorithms, mostly sort of, I wouldn't say discussed, let's say mostly investigated and published by the algorithm, not the analyst, was singles. Yeah, I think that's what they call it. They call it breaker, SNGLS. We can see there was quite a bit of an accumulation period down here at the beginning of the month, actually a couple of weeks into the month. We had that beautiful run, which was really explosive. Out of these blitz zones, we had 100% in 9 days. And as part of our methodology, we often sort of suggest that if you're going to go sort of 100% in 9 days, then you're going to be looking at an 80% Fibonacci retrace. This area here, you got your 236, your 382, your 50% retrace, then come down into your 80%. It actually went below that, so it was a stunning retrace. Lost literally 60 to 70%, found some support around the 50 and the 200 crossover, and look, off we go again. So called a second and a third time. In fact, we've called this 7 times in the last couple of weeks. This most recent move coming out of here, running another 44%. Do I think it's going to continue higher? Probably not. Why? Because we've got a high up here. This is technically a lower high. I have a feeling that we may end up with a lower high here. We can see ADX and ADI negative and declining, probably run sideways a little bit and sort of step our way back down into this support level. Where would I suggest a rebuy if you're really in the market? Probably somewhere back down here around about the sort of 85 zone, although I would kind of suggest as soon as we break below that 200 moving average, you probably want to leave this one alone. And Siri, I've got to turn Siri off. I've got to throw this phone over here. I swear I'm not saying the word Siri, am I, guys? Syndicator. Syndicator, another one that we talked about in prior videos. We can see a sustained collection of higher highs until recently where this particular uptrend sort of broke. We had a whole series of places up here. I mean, this in hindsight is obvious as a brilliant place to sell. Why would you want to sell up in this zone? Well, I don't know. I'd say that's kind of your 115, 120 zone. I'd personally be selling in your 100 zone, and that actually 100 has actually caused a bit of resistance. You can have a look here through this 100 zone, and you can see that the price has actually come up into it twice now and rejected that 100 zone. Do I think that Syndicator's got any strength left? Probably not. Your best chance was when we went full DI positive with a nice trend here running out of this zone. We're looking at the best part of 80% in 5 days. Will it continue? I probably don't think so. We've got negativity here. We've got an increasing trend to the downside. We're DI negative. I would say leave Syndicator alone. It had its 80% this week. We're not going to go talk about that anymore. Sky BTC, yet another one. None of these are flukes. None of this is unusual to us. This is just stock standard methodology and practice. Beautiful selection of setup right here. And then we had a whole bunch of trades out of this one. I mean, some of these look real small, but when you look at them, in actual fact, they're like 20% a go. I know that we had some massive retraces back into that 200 moving average. Absolutely stunning. Bounced, goes again. This has been a confusing thing. I've been looking at this on the sort of the much longer term. And as you can see on the 4-hour chart, we actually have a much easier to understand trend. We've got a bit of a baseline here. We've been popping up and out of this sort of area. It surprised me that we went quite so high. We had a bit of room on the RSI here, but you can see once again our methodology holds true. Will it come back into this area? I think so. I think we're going to see it come back into this blue 200 moving average. I expect it to come back down here. Do I think it's going to bounce? I do. You know what? I think we'll see a bit of this, and then I think we'll be off to the races again. So keep your eye on Sky. I'm expecting a sort of a move down into the 200, make that red. And what do I expect after that? I would suggest that we might even go to 800 this time. We might go as high as that. Just depends on what happens with the ADI, but I've got to suggest this does look like a potential trend in the formatting. And I got to say, let's kind of, yeah, 800 is looking pretty nice to me. I think that's going to line up perfectly. We're going to get our methodology. Once again, nothing surprising about any of this. If you're in the system, you've got a whole bunch of professional analysts that are basically watching the markets. You've got algorithms looking at everything on a 1-minute basis. If you're not a member, I highly suggest you join. 7-day refund policy, all that sort of stuff. If you're getting anything out of these videos and you still haven't become a member, or if you're a member, then I would super appreciate it if you like, comment, share, all that sort of social media stuff. And I hope that the pace of my voice doesn't irritate people. I'm sure that I actually got a comment on one of my videos the other day. They said, if you watch this back at 50%, it sounds like I'm drinking whiskey and slurring my words. Absolutely great idea. Great way to learn with Drunken Jonathan at the helm. Let's talk about Loom. Loom is the sort of thing that, you know, you kind of want to get drunk after looking at some of these moves, especially if you're in the money. Loom, multiple calls, beautiful setup here. Nothing surprising about this perfect setup. The algorithm captured the entire move. There was actually multiple calls, I remember, but at the most it went 87% in 3 days. What is going to happen now? Oh, I gotta say, this is starting to look very grim. Why is it looking grim? Series of lower highs. You can see we've come down now. This might even be the next lower high. Will it bounce and then break the 200 to go with a series of lower lows? I don't think this 200 is going to hold. I think our red DI candles and our increasing downtrend, I can't see this doing anything other than a 680 618 Fibonacci retrace. Let's go and have a pull it up. We're sitting on the 382 right now. If we break this 200 moving average, which is coming through this area, you can see it's coming up here. If we break below this area, will we get a 50% Fibonacci retrace into this? I don't think this is strong. I think we're going to go all the way back here, the 618 buyer zone, I call it. That would bring us around about 300 sats. Would I imagine that we're coming back down into this sort of, let's remember we had a massive move here. Can we kind of do this sort of thing again? I don't know. I would tend to suggest that this particular uptrend here is well and truly over. We know that this is warning, get out. You've got DI negative, it's downtrending. We don't want to be in this call anymore. The algorithms know that as soon as we see this, we're out of there. So this was where the algorithm was basically saying, get out. and this section here was when the algorithm was saying get in. Nothing confusing. This is our methodology. It's worked for 3 years. It works perfectly if you have the discipline to use it. Now, one of the exciting things about blockchain education is we're now about to partner with a completely automated trade execution platform to go with our own in-house trade execution on our calls. And we're going to basically automate all this for you. We're going to find you the entry, we're going to find you the exit, and you're just going to enjoy automated cryptocurrency trading profits. Talk about automation. Let's look about NEM, XEM. Confusing recent trends. You can see that we had a couple of entries here and here, but ultimately like multiple opportunities to sell. You're looking at a nice 17%er. Not really cherry picking or hand picking any of these calls, just kind of basically just pick 6 or 7 calls that I found on that huge list, just to show some examples of our methodology. Once again, nice place to sell here, moving down into this 200. Do I think the 200 can hold? I don't think so. Why? Well, I'm looking at a negative DI here. I'm looking at a pretty strong downtrend. I wouldn't be surprised if we go further down here. Throw up a Fibonacci zone, and I think we're probably already at, we're already at that 382. Doesn't surprise me that we've found a little bit of support with the 200 moving average. We probably go sideways, and I have a feeling that we're going to dip down into a 50% retrace somewhere in this area, but even more likely that we end up getting back down into the 618 zone. If you pick some up around about 460, but like I said, these sort of calls, there's a particular time and place when you want to be in it. This is your sort of area that you want to be in it, probably from that blitz. And then you want to be thinking, as soon as you went DI negative here, you want to start thinking about getting out in this kind of area. Look, this is a warning sign. So get out somewhere in this particular period. That's literally 12 hours that you had an opportunity to get out. And coming out of sort of this zone here or this zone here, you're looking at like a good, what are we talking, like say 14% in 2 days, or a nice little 13%. So a couple of opportunities there to get in and get out. You'll notice that all of these charts are nicely uptrending, that they all seem clean and easy to understand. And even this one, which is chopping around, and we're getting explosive sort of moves like this, and you know, giant super deep candles into the bottom of the bands. None of this stuff is all that confusing for the algorithm or the methodology. We have different time scales that we can look and smooth out some of these charts. One final thing we'll talk about is RCN. When I originally did the first video, I mentioned how RCN was on our radar for weeks, and we'd actually been making plenty of money out of it. And unfortunately for everybody, the run has finally come to an end. It's only been the last 3.5 days. I'm going to go back in time here. Look at that. The last 3.5 days over the weekend. I was playing cricket over the weekend, having fun. In the meantime, RCN, these guys, this Ripio credit network, they were selling. We broke the 200 moving average. Nothing surprising about that. Why? Why wouldn't it be surprising? Well, I got to say, look, when you make a 360% gain in 11 days, you're not just going to like lose a couple of percent. No, you're going to have a serious decline in value. If we run our Fibonacci level up here, it's really obvious where we had this change of direction. There's our algorithm signal. It's pretty obvious where the particular uptrend came to an end. We can actually get confirmation here. We went DI negative, we went under 25. This was our exit point, bounced off the top of the RSI cave. 236, 23.6%, nothing even close to support at this level. Slid straight through the 200. Put up a little bit of a fight, sliced straight through it. We're back to 382. What does that mean? That means we've had a 38.2% price decrease from the recent high. So 38.2% Fibonacci retrace. Where are we going to? I wouldn't be surprised if we go straight back to the 618. That means we'll probably come straight back into this area where we find a little bit of prior support. We may find a bit of support here. I wouldn't be surprised if we go a full 80% retrace and we end up down here. Now, I'm not going to suggest that I can predict the future and try and find you the bounce. That's not what we do here. All we're interested in is this sort of like ludicrous trend. We know exactly when to get out. Part of our methodology suggests that we get out when this sort of setup pattern happens. We got this, we got this, we got a few others on a different time zone. This is our exit. We know from the system that we managed to grab the majority of that 350% move. if you came in late, if you were watching the videos and you came in 2 or 3 days late, if you're holding on to it now, I'd suggest you get out now, because I definitely think we're going deeper in this retrace. I don't think that 200's holding, sliding below the 50, red Madrid bands, negative DI, trend is increasing. Actually, I wouldn't be sitting in RCN. It had its time. We made our money. Let's move on to some other coins which are going up. Now, that type of methodology, that type of negative pessimistic mindset on a particular coin, it's the sort of thing that resonates with investors. Now, an investor is not a trader. An investor is the sort of person who buys a particular cryptocurrency and then just simply waits for a rainy day when it actually goes up. Unfortunately, that doesn't always work. And probably the most obvious example of that in the last 2 to 3 years has been the Ethereum mindset. Now, Ethereum is still managing to hold down the number 2 spot on CoinMarketCap. It's used by so many different cryptocurrencies as a base blockchain. But the reality is that although the Ethereum project is an extraordinary piece of art, and although it continues to be upgraded and it's basically at the very bedrock of the blockchain industry, powering the majority of US dollar Tether transactions, that doesn't necessarily mean that traders will support an impressive price increase. And what we've actually seen with Ethereum is that it's actually had a sustained downtrend from that $1,400 high. It can't get a foothold. It can't get back to its prior glory, and in actual fact, it's a bit of a loser. If you're an investor, you're losing money on it. Not look at Ethereum. I'm going to throw it out on a 4-hour chart to kind of give you the bigger picture, and you can see this is not an attractive look. I got to say, this downtrend is very easy to see. It's one of the reasons why, as a company, as the investors, the algorithms, the analysts, we're not at all suggesting that you buy Ethereum. I was prior to that. I was probably 2017 into 2018, but as soon as this downtrend happened and as soon as the news broke that it wasn't the greatest thing in the world, we were like, you know what, there's no point even fighting it. It's been sitting under this 200 moving average. See this 200 moving average? Incredibly important. 200 4-hourly candle moving average. As soon as we broke back across it, everybody was all over that. We were talking about it in chat. We were talking about it through the system. The algorithms were picking up. And there was actually coins that were appreciating against Ethereum that were even better investments than Ethereum itself. Let's look at this change of direction. I'll just clean this up and we'll just go back here again. We had a series of, as you guys know, lower highs. Absolutely obvious that this is a sustained downtrend. Here's your lower high. You expect your lower high to be down here. Look at this, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. The next lower high was here, but we had the 5100. We had a nice little break. We went positive and we exploded up and through the 200, like exploding up in this general direction here. So we missed out on that lower high, and this was actually well predicted by the algorithms on the shorter term. And we can actually see that when it broke the 200, it went as high as 23% in 5 days. Now, unfortunately, we actually came back down a full 15% at the bottom. We've managed to recover. What does this mean in terms of Fibonacci? I don't know. If this here is a new lower high, then we might actually end up coming back down. And I got to say, this is looking pretty negative. Negative DI, trend is declining, running sideways. I'm not all that excited by this particular move by Ethereum. I think in relation to other coins, you're going to get a much better looking opportunity at making money than just simply sitting with Ethereum. I'm going to throw this Fibonacci chart up because it kind of does suggest that this might be a high. Why would I say that? Well, this is our low because we had a trend reversal, and this is our high because I'm just basically guessing, but I have a feeling that that's the high. Now, by guessing correctly, I would imagine that as soon as you explode this much in such a short period of time, my general consensus concept / advice would be expect a 50% retrace. That means half of that's going to disappear, and that's exactly what we got. We got a 50% retrace. Here's a Fibonacci 50%, couple of candles there. Remember, these are 4 hours long, so you had 8 hours to sit your buy marks in here, and you would have made, you know, an explosive move straight up here, another 13% in the next couple of days. This doesn't surprise me at all that we get this sort of massive move and that we get a 50% retrace and then we get another 20% push that way. Those Elliott wave guys are probably sitting there counting their Elliott. Oh, look, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, all that sort of stuff. Truth is, I think this is a short-lived move by Ethereum. I think we've seen this sort of thing before. We saw a little bit of it here. It kind of looked impressive. We're seeing a little bit of it here. We saw a little bit of it here. We saw a little bit of it here. I mean, how far do I need to go back to convince you guys that, you know, it's still in a downtrend? I mean, okay, so you have some nicely positioned uptrends every now and then. In the general grand scheme of things, let's look at the daily chart. You know, cast your eyes on this, guys. This is what we're all supposed to be so excited about. Haven't we seen this before? Here, here, here. You know, look where it came from. The high was up here, valued against Bitcoin. Would I suggest this is a good time to buy Ethereum? Are you kidding me? Come on, guys. This is your 200-day moving average. The price is still well below it. ADX, ADI, running sideways. Nothing here. I reckon we'll just run sideways for a while longer. We might hit this 200 moving average, which comes down to meet us. I'm not suggesting that this is a pretty decent place to buy. Got to understand that this particular low here, if you extend that across and then you decided, you know what, this is an important place. This was an area of support. This is an area of support, area of support, area of support, area of support. Oh, not anymore. It ain't support anymore, kids. We're going down. Does that mean that I think Ethereum's a terrible project and the guys who created it are losers? No, of course not. We don't really take very much of that information into consideration when we're looking at price action. We're looking at what the market actually thinks this particular token's worth. Now, I showed you a bunch of coins that were coming to the end of their trends. We had a few others. I think it was MDA. I'll have a look, MDA, see if that one's still going up. I can't remember because, yeah. So MDA, I suggested that we might get a retrace with a higher high, and that's exactly what we had. We had a retrace and into a higher high. MDA continuing to be impressive. It's a good, strong uptrend. Positive DI, do I think it can go higher? Yep, probably. I'm expecting to see a series of lower highs, higher lows, higher low, higher low, higher low. This might be our higher low. We might end up going up this way. As I mentioned in a prior video, will 1,000 or 10,000 be our psychological area? Look where we are, 10,000. Go straight across here. Perfect place to take some profits. I wouldn't expect anything other than coming back into the bands to meet this 50 and then another bounce. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we get this sort of move where we come up into the 50, hold the 50, break down. I think we'll come back into this 50 again, meet it somewhere here and actually go on and make a higher high. None of this stuff is confusing or surprising or fluky. We're not guessing. Our algorithms are designed to let us know these particular things that you see, they're not exactly a fluke. This methodology that I show you guys, this sort of stuff, not a fluke. Beautiful entry here as well. You can actually have a look at that entry. We'll go up here. Great little entry here. Explosive move. You're running another 15% in 10 hours. So looking really nice there. I'm not going to say much more about the methodology, probably giving away way too much. The point is that this market is incredibly volatile and you can make a lot of money trading crypto. Now, you can also lose a lot of money. That's why we built a community full of actual professionals who watch the market 24/7 for you. That's why we built algorithms that warn those and warn you and let you know exactly what opportunities are in there. If you're thinking about joining and you're thinking, you know, I can't afford 100, 200 American a month, that's way too much. Just think about how much money you can make and you'll realize why our members have been with us so long, because any one of these little bounces, like I said, it's not a fluke. I'm sure you'll make plenty of money. I'm going to do a recap on Ethereum in particular and going to look at Ripple again today and give you kind of like an overarching macro point of view. We're going to have a look at a bit of the micro, but at the end of the day, I'm going to look at the differences between investing and trading. And I think there's a giant difference. And I think the general public really needs to know, because there's too many people who have been burned investing in cryptocurrencies over the last year and a half. It's not something that we advocate here. We trade, we don't invest. Investing in this market right now is unfortunately for losers, unless you're the sort of person who got in years and years and years ago and bought Bitcoin for $50 or something. Anyway, I don't want to sound pessimistic, and that shouldn't be. If you want to blow your mind, go back to the beginning of the video, slow down some of those calls, have a look at the numbers, have a look at the consistency, have a look at the opportunities that are coming out every sort of couple of hours. There's another example of something running 25, 30% in this market, and we're all over it. We know exactly what's going on. All right, guys, talk to you soon. Like, comment, share. Hopefully this is useful. Hope you guys make money. Cheers.